Hello, I'm Alexander the OK, and welcome to episode 29 of my look at the Japanese tech tree in War Thunder. Today I'll be looking at the A7M2 Repu, or Strong-Gale, codenamed SAM by the Allies. Not that there was much call for a codename, given there was only around 9 or 10 produced, so they didn't really need to codename it, but they did. This plane was developed to replace the A7M2 in service. However, the development of the plane was significantly delayed and stopped briefly in 1941 due to the Mitsubishi design team working on other projects such as the improved A6M designs and also the J2M land interceptor. One of the main delays was designing which engine to use. There was a choice between a Nakajima engine and a Mitsubishi engine. The Nakajima engine was already in production. This was the Nakajima Sake engine. It was already being used on planes like the P1Y, while the Mitsubishi engine was more powerful at 2,200 horsepower, but hadn't been tested previously. The Nakajima engine plane is the prototype and is in-game as a premium, and this is the M2, which uses the Mitsubishi engine. As I take out the LA7 there, which brings me onto the armament, which is quite effective. It's got two Type 99 Mark II cannons, which are on plenty of other Japanese planes. You should probably know how powerful they are by the time you get to this plane. And also two Type 3 machine guns. These are based on the M2 Browning, but chambered for the 13.2 by 96mm Hotchkiss cartridge, which the Japanese use in a number of other guns. So, in a moment here, I'll be turning around to fake a head-on with this Yak 3 who's closing on me. Don't really want to take that. However, he doesn't engage in a turn fight, instead keeps running, and runs into that ME410. But the A7M is a very effective plane. In this game, I believe I'm fully up-tiered to 6.3. The regular BR of the A7 in realistic battle being 5.3. It's still a very effective plane. It's fast, but obviously, as you can see, things like the Yak 3, the P51, they're all faster than you. You've essentially got the same problem as you did in the A6M2, in that, while not necessarily a slow plane, a lot of its competitors are substantially faster than it. And I sort of screw up my run on that Lincoln, not firing anywhere near early enough to get the time on target to get a good shot. That being said, you have a substantially better turn rate than most of the planes you'll be facing. If not a better roll rate, the size of the wings of this plane make its roll kind of sluggish. That Lincoln's taking pot shots at me as I try and get ahead of it. Matching him in his dive. He's not going to be getting away. But no, it's an incredibly powerful plane, and you'll see some people do complain about it. That P51 over there, he's a good player, he put up a good fight, but he said, as you'll see at the end of the match, there wasn't much he can do against an A7M, which, well, if you're a full BR higher than a plane, you'd hope there's something you can do, and he actually does almost get guns on target, and would have taken him out had he been a bit more lucky or aimed better, but oh well. It is a powerful aircraft, and it, I believe, started at a substantially lower battle rating. It used to be lower than the A6M5s, so I think it had a 4.3 battle rating or something stupid, which it clearly didn't belong at. I remember when I first unlocked this plane and started flying it, it's also at a time that people didn't really know how to fly against it and didn't realise how powerful it was. Even stock, I got a lot of kills before being shot, not in one match, in a series of matches. It took a while before even stock people started shooting me down in this, which is really silly. It definitely deserves a its 5.3 battle rating. It could, oh well, as shown in this battle, it does perfectly well in 6.3 BR, so it probably could stand to be 5.7 or so, but it's moderately balanced at the moment. There's plenty of planes that are faster than it. It's, like I said, very much in the same sort of bracket as the A7M2 in that it is a very powerful aircraft, but it has significant weaknesses, which are its roll rate, which is pretty sluggish, and its speed, which isn't fantastic, as I track that P-51. Sorry, I have to keep muting the mic to cough. So here, I'm pretty sure that P-51 is going to pull up into me, or just fly below me, so I'm going to roll and drop in on him. Hopefully he doesn't run for his airfield. He starts to turn for his airfield, so I just pull up and away to regain altitude. And the P-51 opens the distance. This plane's got a decent climb rate. It's not fantastic. There's plenty of planes that can outclimb it, but well, like most Japanese aircraft, it's light enough that its climb rate's decent. It's also moderately well armoured, I should say. It's got a an armoured plate in the back for its pilot. It's got armoured glass. I think it's something like 60mm in front of the pilot, and the fuel tanks are self-sealing, if I remember correctly. As I said, that P-51 does nearly get guns on target a number of times. That was one of them. Unfortunately, my return shots, the main problem with this, the armament on this aircraft, as with a lot of Japanese aircraft, is that the rate of fire is a little slow, which occasionally means that enemies are able to just fly straight through your rounds, so it would seem. As I lure the P-51 back up into the vertical, as you can see his energy retention is much better than mine, as he's able to close quite quickly. I'm now using negative elevator to get my nose down before turning around and duking his incoming shots and rolling back on him. And again, I'm just unable to catch him in a dive, so I don't even bother. I just pull back up for altitude. He rolls underneath me and comes back up. You see here he almost nearly gets guns on target because I didn't think he'd be able to turn around that quick, but the P-51 is actually pretty manoeuvrable at speed. Able to roll underneath him there, and now his speed's lower, I'm able to start turning inside him, which at this point he just pulls away again, so you can see there is plenty a P-51 can do against an A7M. He just sort of, well, he didn't get unlucky, he just got a bit greedy. I shall see I eventually am able to take this guy out with the help of that Dornier over there. Since he's opened the distance so much, I don't want to be trailing him, so I decide to climb towards my allies, trying to keep my speed above 300 kilometers an hour. As you can see, he's kind of almost equalised our altitude here, so the P-51H5, it is an H5, yeah, there's certainly no slouch. And, well, he's going to start attacking my Dornier, who I'm going to be providing cover for. Both of them take a head-on there, or not, as the case may be. Well, I'm not sure how much damage either of them received there. I climbed since the P-51 was heading towards his airfield. See, I've taken a bit of damage from the Lincoln earlier. It's not substantially affecting my manoeuvrability though, at this point. Start my move towards the P-51. As he's diving back in on the Dornier. I've throttled back and I'm doing sort of a rolling dive in order to not go too fast as the P-51 tries to slot in on the Dornier, actually to set him on fire. But you can see that turn back onto the Dornier has made him far too slow, and I'm able to catch a plug with him here, even if my shooting is abysmal. But the B-51 explodes, and he's the last player. So that's the match in the A7M. I do have another one, which it's a bit cloudy, which is a shame, but oh well, it's War Thunder, what can you expect? You see, sort of complained about the A7M, but it was well played on his part. So here's the second match. We're over Kalkingol, fighting a mixed match against the Soviets and Allies. A lot of cloud. I'm tracking some Spitfires who have started to engage some of my allies. So the Spitfire is another plane that generally has the speed advantage on you, but you do have the turning advantage still, if not as great. But the speed advantage the Spitfire has isn't as great as the P-51s or some other planes, and it also does have a slight roll advantage over you. I don't believe the Spitfire has spotted me in the cloud, so I'm able to roll over and drop in on him. Sniping out the pilot there. And I do believe I'll be cutting away to the next part of the battle in a sec. So here I've spotted an enemy trailing my J2M in the clouds, although I can't see him now in the replay. Oh, there it is, that dark smudge there. Just to the right of my reticule. Just tracking him through the cloud, which is always fun. Ah, there we go. I've closed in on him now as he rolls under. It's a Spitfire. Again, poor shooting on my part. Fortunately for me, he pulls up, which is probably one of the worst things he could do. Rolling, however, was a good move, as I can't really follow him into that, so I go up into the vertical before rolling back down on him as he tries to pull up into me. Fortunately, my turn rate's better, and I set him on fire. Will turn into a fatal fire as he disappears back into the cloud, and there we go. I'll be cutting away here, and well, here my plan is that most of the enemy team, I believe they're down to 2 planes, died, and we just don't know where they are, and I don't think anyone's got a blind hunt. So I'm going to go attack the tanks down there, and hopefully bait the enemies into attacking me. Which is exactly what happens as I'm typing the plan to friendlies, this Yak 9 drops on me, and I rip my flaps off trying to avoid him. Fortunately for me, he decides he will engage an A7M in a dogfight, which goes quite poorly for him as he goes up into the vertical here. I'm quite easily able to get my guns around in on him. Although not great shots on my part, only a hit or two. But he continues in these turns, which he probably should have extended away, and probably would have been able to avoid my shots, but I'm able to take a wing off there. And continue with my original plan of attacking these tanks. The A7M is actually quite a good ground strike aircraft in both RB air battles and in tank battles. The 13mm machine guns here, as I'll show in a sec once I've decided I'm properly lined up, even with the air targets, which I believe is what I've got loaded, take out light tanks very easily. The 20mm are also effective against light tanks, but only the armour piercing rounds, which means you probably want to load ground belts if you're going to try it, as you'll wind up wasting a lot of ammunition if you're using universal belts, which I think I am. In tank battles you also get access to a number of rockets. Well, you only get 2 rockets, but there's multiple types, and I believe the best rocket's got a penetration of around 67mm, which is more than enough to go through the top of many a tank. But you only get 2 of them. Fortunately, they don't fire at the same time, they fire separately. So if you get decent at aiming those, they are pretty effective at taking out enemy tanks. So that's been the A7M2. It's a very good plane, it flies very much like a souped up A6M0. I've been Alexander the OK. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.